I'm 97 years old, and I want to tell you about the moment I understood that I had been present my entire life and invisible at the same time. That's not a riddle. That's what happened to me. And if you have kids, or if you are someone's kid, you need to hear this because I figured out something that cost me almost everything. And I don't want you to pay the same price. My name is Henry Walker. I'm in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And for most of my life, I thought presence was the same thing as being known. I thought showing up meant you mattered. I was wrong about that, catastrophically wrong. I had 3 kids, Bobby, Maggie, and Dave. I was there for all of them. I was the one who worked. I was the one who paid for things. I was the one who showed up to their games, their graduations, their weddings. I sat in waiting rooms. I paid hospital bills. I was present. But here's the thing about presence: when you never actually speak, when you never actually let anyone see you, presence becomes a wall that looks like a man. I didn't know I was doing it. That's the part that matters. See, I grew up different. My father was a hard man, not cruel like some fathers were, just closed. He worked, he provided, he was reliable, but he never told me anything real about himself, never told me he was scared, never told me he made mistakes, never told me what he actually wanted from life besides the next day. And I thought that was what strength looked like. So I did the same thing. Different era, different job, different city, but the same blueprint. I worked 62 years. I came home tired. I ate dinner. I sat in my chair. I asked about school or work, but not the real things, not the things that matter. My wife, Margaret, she was different. She'd tell stories. She'd laugh about her own failures. She'd say things like, "I was scared today," or "I don't know if I'm doing this right." The kids would gather around her when she said stuff like that. They'd open up. They'd tell her things they never told me. I knew this was happening. I watched it. And I remember thinking, good. Good that they have someone who understands them, someone who's not just there. But I didn't ask myself the question I should have asked: where am I in all this? Margaret died in 2008. I was 75. The house changed that day, not because it was quieter. It was quieter, but that wasn't the real change. The real change was that the thing that had been holding everything together, the person who did the translating between me and my kids, she was gone. And slowly the distance started to show. It happened in the way these things always happen. Not one day, not one big argument, just incrementally. Visits got shorter, phone calls got fewer, and the ones that did happen felt different, polite, like talking to someone you're obligated to be nice to. Bobby stopped coming by after his second daughter was born. "Too busy," he said. I understood. I did. Maggie's calls, they used to be long, but around 2015 or so, they got shorter. She'd ask how I was. I'd say fine. We'd talk about her kids, her job, never about anything real, just logistics. Dave, he still came, but he'd bring his wife, Susan, and they'd sit with me for maybe an hour, and I'd tell them about my day. the doctor, the grocery store, my back, the news, stuff that fills time but doesn't mean anything. One time, Dave tried to tell me about a problem he was having, something at work, something serious, and I listened. But I didn't really listen. I was already thinking about how I could fix it for him, already in my head solving his problem instead of being with him in his problem. He noticed. I could see it in his face. The moment he realized I wasn't actually hearing him, that I was just waiting for my turn to add my solution. He never brought anything real to me again after that. So here's where this gets hard, and I need you to understand something before I go further. I'm not going to sit here and tell you my kids were wrong. They weren't. I need you to hear that, because they were doing what everyone does. They were building lives. They had kids. They had jobs. They had stress. And coming to visit their father, an old man who sat in a chair and talked about his aches and his groceries and his opinions about how they should live differently, that wasn't something they looked forward to. And I knew it, and I never changed it. There's a moment where you stop blaming circumstance and you start looking at what you actually did. And I had to get to that moment. It happened when I was 89. I'm sitting in my apartment alone. It's a Thursday night. I know it's Thursday because that's when Dave usually comes. But he called earlier and said he couldn't make it. Something came up. His grandkid had something. I said, sure, no problem. And I sat there for a while and I thought about all the Thursday nights, all the visits, all the times they showed up because they felt they should, not because they wanted to see their father, because they felt obligated to check on an old man. And that's when it hit me. I had been present for their entire lives, but they had never actually met me. They didn't know what scared me. They didn't know what I wanted. They didn't know if I was happy or if I was just existing. They knew my schedule. They knew my complaints. They knew my opinions, but they didn't know me. And I had made that choice every single day. For 60 years, I had made that choice. So what do you do when you figure out something like that? When you're 89 and you suddenly understand that you've built a life where everyone around you sees a function, not a person. For a while, I did nothing. I sat with it for months, because the truth is, it's easier to sit with a bad thing you understand than to do something about a bad thing that scares you. But something shifted. I don't know what exactly. Maybe it was mortality. Maybe it was just exhaustion. The exhaustion of being invisible to the people you love. I decided to do something different, not dramatic, not some big gesture, just different. I called Dave, not about visiting, just called him. And instead of asking about his life, I started telling him about mine. I told him about the first day I worked at the factory. I told him I was terrified, told him I almost quit, told him the only reason I didn't was because I was too scared of failing in front of him. He didn't know that. He had never heard that. I told Maggie about a decision I made when she was a kid. A job I didn't take because it would have meant moving. I told her I chose her over the money, and I told her I wasn't sure it was the right choice. I still wasn't sure, but I chose her I told Bobby about loss, real loss, not about my aches, about missing people, about the fear of dying and having no one really know you. And something started to happen, slowly at first, but it happened. Dave started coming back on Thursdays, but this time it was different. He'd ask me questions, real questions. Dad, what were you scared of? Did you ever want to do something else? How did you decide what mattered? Maggie's calls got longer. She'd tell me things she hadn't told me before, and she'd ask. She'd actually ask about me. Bobby, it took longer with Bobby, but he started responding when I reached out. He started sharing things. But here's what I need you to understand, and this is the part nobody tells you. It wasn't enough. Not because the reconnection wasn't real. It was real, but because there were decades of absence there, decades of I don't know who you are. You don't just erase that. My relationship with my kids is different now. It's better, but it's not like it could have been. There's something missing, something we can't get back. I'm 97 now, and I see my grandkids, and I try to be different with them. I try to let them know me. I try to tell them stories about who I am, not just what I did or what I think they should do. And they listen, and I think maybe that's something. But the truth is, I lost time. I lost decades, and you can't get that back. So here's what I'm saying, and I need this to land somewhere in you because I don't have many years left to say it. If you're someone's parent and you're reading this and you think, I show up, I provide, I'm present, ask yourself, do they know you? Do they actually know who you are? Or do they know what you look like when you're solving problems? And if you're someone's kid and you're pulling away from your parents, ask yourself, are they pulling away because they don't care? Or are they pulling away because they've never learned how to let you see them? Because most of the distance in families isn't about one person being cruel. It's about two people trying to love each other in the only language they know. And sometimes that language doesn't say I love you. It says I provide, or I show up, or I'm here. But those aren't the same thing as I love you. They're the words someone uses when they're scared to use the real ones. I spent 89 years scared, scared of being weak, scared of not being enough, scared that if my kids saw the real me, they wouldn't like what they found. And you know what I found out at 89? That the thing I was protecting them from was the only thing they actually wanted to see. They didn't need a provider. They needed a person. They didn't need someone who had the answers. They needed someone who could say, I don't know. I'm scared too. I failed and I'm still here. And here's the part that keeps me up at night. I figured this out. I changed. I'm trying to show up as a person now, not a function. And it matters. The connection is real, but I can never get back the time I wasted being invisible. My grandson Tommy, he's 18 now. I see him sometimes. He's a good kid, smart, but I don't know him like I should. I don't know what he dreams about. I don't know what he's scared of. I know his mother's versions of his life, but I don't know his. And that's on me. That's the price of being a wall when I could have been a man. So if you're listening to this and you're any age where you still have time, don't wait until you're 97. Don't wait until you've lost the people you love because they thought you didn't love them back. They probably did, but they didn't know it because you never showed them. Let them see you. Let them see that you're scared sometimes. Let them see that you fail. Let them see that you're human. That's not weakness. That's the only real strength there is. Because at the end, nobody grieves a function. Nobody remembers a wall. They remember people. They remember the humans who let themselves be known. I'm 97. I can't get back what I lost. But you can. You still have time. Don't spend it being invisible. Subscribe if this landed somewhere. Subscribe if you recognize yourself in here on either side of it. Subscribe if you're scared that you're doing this right now without even knowing it, because there are more stories, more truths, and some of them might save you from becoming me. Take care of yourself. And more importantly than that, let people care for you, the real you, not the function, the man, the person, the scared, flawed, real person. That's all anyone really wants to know anyway.